Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
7:06 now on O'Connor and Company, as we're just charging straight ahead on this very busy Wednesday morning in your nation's capital, keeping you informed and entertained. At 8:05, Susan Ferriccio from the Washington Times, and at 8:35, Luke Rosiak from Daily Wire. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie. All is well in your world?
All is well.
Good. Listen to President Trump yesterday. He made an announcement at the White House having to do with the promised energy policy that he campaigned on. Listen to President Trump specifically talking about a brand new executive order on coal. Remember coal? Yeah, we're back, baby. Cut 3.
Executive order that I will sign in a few moments. We're slashing unnecessary regulations that targeted the beautiful clean coal. We will rapidly expedite leases for coal mining on federal lands, and these two gentlemen are going to do a real job of it. You've already started. And we'll streamline permitting. We will end the government bias against coal, and we're going to unlock the sweeping authorities of Defense Production Act, the Defense Production Act, to turbocharge coal mining in America.
All right, joining us right now, Daniel Turner. He is the founder and executive director of Power the Future. I like to, of course, refer to him as a mouthpiece for big fossil fuel. And he's happy with that, by the way. Wears it proudly. First of all, isn't it true, Daniel Turner, that you wrote that executive order for the president?
It is a glorious day. It was just wonderful to witness and to see a president champion this industry, which is absolutely crucial to our economy. So
can you
it sounded like
expand?
me, and I'm proud.
It did sound like you. Daniel, can you expand a little bit on the term clean coal? Because it's remarkable to me that the EPA and I believe it was the Clinton administration that started this initiative. I know you'll correct me if I'm wrong, to sort of clean up the coal industry. You know, coal's good. We love coal, but we got to make it clean. Then they did it, and Obama comes in and says, yeah, that's not good enough either. We're going to kill it altogether. When they say clean coal, what does that mean?
It means there are scrubbers, just like you have in your car, your catalytic converter, right, so that the emissions are cleaner. There are scrubbers in coal plants so that what is emitted is predominantly water vapor. This notion that we're still in some Dickensian, Victorian-era coal where everything is soot and dirty is a fabrication. There's a lot of bias against coal. I'm glad President Trump called it that. And there's a real misunderstanding about how crucial coal is to our economy and to the world. Just one small anecdote. America used to be the world's largest coal producer. We're now 5th. And at that same time, this happened over the last 20 years, and at the same time, the world's coal consumption has almost doubled. So all that's happened is our slice of the pie has gotten really small as the pie keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I don't know why it's green that Indonesia or China or even our Australian friends get to sell their coal, but America doesn't get to sell ours.
Daniel, I'm curious, a part of the executive order, as Larry says, that you wrote, it says that some older, I'm going to keep saying that some older coal-fired power plants set for retirement will keep producing. What is the state of sort of the coal workforce? I mean, we know that, the Democrats just say learn to code to all of these people. What is the state of that workforce, and is it in need? Are they? I guess are they sufficient in numbers to keep these power plants going that were set for retirement?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think what we've seen as coal has taken a political hit. What you've seen happen is fewer shifts. So. We used to have coal mines, for example, that would run 24/7, and people would work different 8-hour shifts, and they've scaled back a lot of that. But there is a really large workforce ready to go, and these are the types of jobs that, yes, you need a couple of months training and willing to put in the hard hours, but you don't have to go through 4 years of med school to work in this. And quite frankly, the men and women who work in this industry, as President Trump said yesterday, they want to do this for a living, right? It's a generational thing, and that's the real hit that Power the Future, why I started the organization, those coal communities where they're generational jobs, where they are community identifiers, and the one coal mine in town funds every diner, every little league, everyone at church works at that mine. That's the damage we've done to rural America, as we've destroyed small towns, and hopefully we can bring some of that back.
Yeah, you talk about those devastated communities in Appalachia that J.D. Vance emerged from and has tried to draw some focus to. Coal is absolutely a common denominator all up and down that region. We're speaking with Daniel Turner, Power of the Future. If I can shift a little bit, well, actually, one quick follow-up, and then I need to shift to oil in general. You mentioned China and these other foreign nations. How clean is the coal that they're burning in China there? Do they have the same scrubbers that we use?
No, of course not. And that's why if you play the emissions game, worldwide emissions continue to go up, because China doesn't have any care for the environment or for human rights or for groundwater contamination. It's why green groups never go to China and protest. It's why Greta Thunberg has never gone to China. It's why, the IPCC and all these climate groups and John Kerry, why they never have their conferences in China. We turn the blind eye to the fact that China is twice our and the European Union combined, twice our emissions. We turn a blind eye to let China do whatever they want. They can employ 9-year-old girls. They can use Uyghur slaves. They can have children making your sneakers or your laptop or work in the coal mine, pollute and contaminate. And we say, but that's okay. That's just free trade. And so the fact that we've decimated our economy, our coal economy, and turned a blind eye to the atrocity of the world, I think is part of this executive order as well.
Daniel Turner, I made the mistake of tuning into one of the business channels early this week to get, find out what they were talking about with the tariffs and global prices and all that stuff. And as they were going through this litany of, horrible things happening, one of the things they pointed out that was so bad was the price of oil has hit a 4-year low. And they said, well, we didn't vote for this. All right, so clear this up. Number one, is it bad news that the price of oil is at a 4-year low? And number two, isn't that exactly what we voted for?
It's good news if you're the American consumer, if you're the American family, if you're commuting. I was introed by your traffic report. All those people listening right now, it's great news for them. Look, I think the oil industry would clearly like prices to be higher before they got all of their permits in place, right? We had a huge permitting problem in the previous administration, and you are more prone to get a permit and drill for oil at $65 a barrel. So they would have liked prices to come down slower so that they can increase their volume simultaneously and they can even out. But that's not going to stop them. Proof of that, rig counts nationwide are up since June of last year. And that's because there are permits available, and men and women who work in oil and gas want to drill, just like coal miners want to mine. So maybe prices fell a little faster than the industry would have liked, but that's not going to thwart any of their efforts. And it's good for the American consumer because everything in the world is transported or manufactured, and all of that requires energy. Cheap energy is cheap living.
Daniel Turner, we're going to have to leave it there, but we thought you'd be in a good mood today after yesterday's. By the way, and what a great photo op with all those coal workers with their hard hats standing behind the president in the East Room. It really is a complete new makeover for the Republican coalition and the conservative movement. And I think it's a good thing. I was
thrilled President Trump mentioned the 2016 campaign when Hillary Clinton demonized coal and how that was a turning point in her campaign. And that's what the Democrats have lost. Coal miners used to be Democrats. Ask Joe Manchin. Ask West Virginia. Coal country used to be Democrats. We are the same people. The Democrat Party abandoned them. They've turned to a new party. Democrats they can scream all they want about tariffs or anything else. Until they get coal miners back, their party will never get national office again.
If I were big oil, I would want a mouthpiece like Daniel Turner. He is so good at that.
Daniel, come back. He'll be nicer.
Always. He loves it when I call him that. It's on his business card.
Larry loves me for the fact that I turned down the chance to shake J.D. Vance's hand at CPAC to go shake hands with Larry O'Connor. And,
That's true.
And 4 years later, he's vice president, and I'll never have the chance to meet him again.
Oh, no.
Meanwhile, I elbowed Turner out of the way and say, I'll see you in a minute. I got to go talk to Vance. It is. That is a true story. 7-6.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
We got a couple of items here from the world of MAHA. Here's RFK Jr., your Secretary of Health and Human Services, making an announcement about fluoride in the water. Let's listen to the Secretary, and then we'll discuss.
In Europe, most of the nations have already banned fluoride, and their cavities have not increased. And, there's no way to measure without some kind of observational study an increase in IQ until many years down the road. When the indicators are that fluoride damages IQ in the same way that leaded gasoline, at about the same level it does. And we saw about a 2-point IQ nationally, a 2-point IQ hike after about 20 years after the ban on leaded gasoline. We will see a difference, and people will be healthier.
All right. It seems to me that there are two issues here. The first is there some sort of danger or negative effect of having fluoride in the water? And by the way, that IQ data point that he just used, that's actually from New York Times reporting. The same New York Times that's criticizing Kennedy on this issue today was reporting on reports of negative effects and IQ results of having fluoride in the water. That seems to be the first question. The second question, frankly, even more important, I think, is do we still need fluoride in the water? At the time that it was put in there,
yes.
We didn't have all these toothpastes with fluoride, right?
Yeah, but more importantly, as we have developed into, a healthier, people are at this point are like everyone's dying, but we actually are healthier than they were when fluoride was originally put in the water. And I think fluoridated water really did help in rural and poor areas, and for people who could not get regular dental checkups and perhaps didn't have the best oral health. So I do think it's worth a review. That's been my stance on a lot of these MAHA issues. I don't think fluoride in the water is dangerous. I think it's overall been a good thing, but I do think it's interesting to consider whether at this point we need fluoride in the water, given that we're a more developed nation, that toothpaste is cheap, that most people, it's sort of a cultural thing that you brush your teeth. I will tell you, I am the mother of 3 teenage boys, and I am very thankful that fluoride is in the water because oral health is a challenge for teenage boys. And so, but again, I'm perfectly fine with them reviewing the data. I do think that the CDC not recommending it will probably lead to fluoride being taken out of a lot of local water supplies. So it'll be interesting to watch this issue.
I've got teenage boys, too. And fluoride's been added to the water for 80 years. It was 1945,
right.
Grand Rapids, Michigan, when they first started putting fluoride in the water. Very different era with regard to fluoride toothpaste and the ubiquity of it, as you just noted. You're right. Sometimes it's hard to get teenage boys to take care of their oral health. Yet at the same time, here's the interesting thing. Those same teenage boys of mine almost entirely insist on drinking bottled water. So it's like, where are they going to get the fluoride in the first place? So listen, if that's, to me, I think that here's the problem. I don't trust science anymore when they look at this stuff. When you can get conflicting reports. So the bigger question is, if it's not necessary, why are we spending money and time and energy doing it? While, by the way, Flint, Michigan still has lead in their water, and they haven't been able to fix that. So
right. So I look, and again, the issue here is we need to review the data. We need to review the data and see, and also maybe have new tests, more modern tests to see the efficacy of fluoride in the water. And I'm fine with studying these things.
Well, and we are so fortunate on this program to have you so many days a week because you've been focusing on these issues on behalf of moms. And
well, I will tell you, pre-COVID, yes,
years.
But pre-COVID, I would have been like, this is baloney. This is what we need. Fluoride's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. It did reduce tooth decay by 25% when it was first introduced. But again, it's a different era.
All right. That said, I don't think there's any controversy about this. Rick Scott took to social media to put out a video about garlic, and the garlic you get from the grocery stores. Apparently, communist China grows more garlic and markets more garlic in the United States than any other country. We're taking garlic from China.
It's commie garlic.
It's communist garlic.
But it's
we
worse.
have. There's a city up in northern California. If you're driving up the 5 Central Valley
I've heard
and
of
then
it,
you
yeah.
cut over to San Francisco, it's
go-
called Gilroy. They have the garlic festival. They
Yes.
used to grow all of America's garlic.
Yes.
And when you drive through the city on your way to San Francisco, you can smell it. It is really sneaky.
Oh, so is it common to grow garlic and poop? Because that's the.
Well, yeah.
Go on.
They apparent. Well, you use obviously to increase the growth pattern for certain root vegetables, including garlic. I don't think it's a root vegetable. You know what I mean? You do use a lot of fertilizer.
Okay.
In China, though, it's not cow manure. It's not. Well, they literally use human waste.
Oh.
They use raw sewage. They use human waste and sewage to grow the garlic. They're growing garlic and poop.
Commie poop garlic.
Commie
Okay,
poop
so
garlic.
Rick Scott is all on this.
Yeah.
He's
Check
got
your
a
garlic
sewage.
next time you get garlic. If it says made in China or a product of China, you know that are you saying Rick Scott is all over human waste?
He just introduced, I love this, the Sewage Garlic Imports Act to ban the importing of unsafe, poopy, commie garlic.
Yeah. By the way, apparently the town in China where all of this poop garlic is produced is
Don't
called
tell me.
Shandong. Shandong.
There's a joke there somewhere. I was
There
wondering
is.
if it was
I'm gonna-
Wuhan.
I'm going to avoid it. Yeah. So there you go. Let's not get human waste poop garlic from China. By the way, when President Biden was visiting the Pope and he pooped his pants, apparently.
It's been so long. That used to be your favorite story.
It was in Italy, so the garlic smell sort of overpowered most of the. It is 7:25. WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the 5s. Here is Jamie Whitten in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center. Is that garlic I smell?
George Washington Parkway, I'm sorry. Southbound.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:37, and we're continuing our breakneck speed through your morning news cycle so that you are informed as you head into work or wherever it is you're going today. And hopefully you're a little entertained here as we're having some fun. Got to have fun these days. Coming up at 8:05, Susan Ferricchio of the Washington Times is going to join us. Then at 8:35, Luke Rosiak, Daily Wire, on a bonkers story involving Social Security fraud. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Morning, Jules.
Good morning.
We've got some more immigration news for you. We sort of laid out a bunch of it earlier in the show. If you missed that, by the way, subscribe and download to the podcast. But let's get you updated with some more. We shouldn't even call it immigration news. This is deportation of illegal immigrant news. If you'll remember, right, during the Biden administration, if you want to call it that, Secretary Mayorkas, as well as your border czar Kamala Harris, they had a great scheme. They put together a CBP home app where all of these destitute asylum seekers who were running from poverty and horrible conditions, they faced, oppression and political and physical harm. That's why they were seeking asylum, ha, 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 even though they were more than willing to pay $10,000 to a human smuggler to get them to our border. They were given this app on their phone, and if they didn't have a phone, although most of them did because they were so oppressed, they had an iPhone.
Right.
They were given a free phone by the Biden administration. The corruption is so deep. And on it was an app. The app allowed them to facilitate their illegal entry into the country. It allowed them to facilitate their claim for asylum, and then they would theoretically be notified for any check-ins that they may have been mandated to execute, and ultimately their hearing, which, is a decade away. By that time, the phone would be obsolete. But that's not the point. Get them into the country as fast as possible.
That's
and, it's not our problem if they register to vote, right? Well, here's what's fun. If any of those illegal immigrants who have been granted some temporary asylum status, and I just want to emphasize that word, temporary asylum status, and they have the CBP app, well, they've just received a message from the new administration. They got a little alert on their phone. The CBP Home app has now given every single temporary asylum seeker who is in the country temporarily a notice. Get out. It advises every illegal immigrant in this country to self-deport. It advises them on the benefits of self-deportation. It's safe. You leave on your own terms. You pick your own departure flight. You keep whatever money you've earned here illegally. Go ahead. Walk out with the money in your pocket. No questions asked. Just get out. Self-deport. And you'll have future opportunity for legal immigration. Yeah, and by the way, it even says that you may be eligible for a subsidized flight home if you can't afford to leave yourself. But either way, it's time to leave. Get out.
The opportunity for legal immigration. This is what should really attract people, because if you're caught and you're deported, like if you're caught in an ICE raid and you're deported, you're never getting back in unless you do it illegally again. And that is probably a circus nobody wants to be a part of. But you do have a chance to come back if you self-deport now.
That's right. And by the way, illegal immigrants who have that app, they can now notify Homeland Security of their intention to self-deport, and Homeland Security will help facilitate that process. And this is classic carrot and stick. The carrot is all the things that I just laid out for you. You can come back possibly. You can keep the money that you've earned, even though it's illegal. We may even help you with a flight home, and you will avoid prosecution. That's the carrot. Now here's the stick. The consequences, if you don't, well, you will be apprehended by DHS, it says, with no opportunity to get your affairs in order. You will be fined $998 per day if you have received a final order for removal and you ignored it. A fine of $1,000 to $5,000 if you fail to self-deport after claiming that you will. Possible imprisonment, and you will be barred from returning legally to this country. This is how you do it. Everybody, how are you going to round it? You're going to go door to door and round everybody up? No. They'll get the message. They'll see enough videos of Kristi Noem dressed up like a DHS agent with a submachine gun, and they'll realize, this is the real deal. DHS also notified hundreds of thousands who entered the country with this temporary status and got the notification that they are no longer welcome here. That temporary status is now spent. No longer temporary. Yes. You don't have legal status. Get out. One other development yesterday, the Department of Homeland Security has asked the IRS to get information on tax ID numbers that illegal immigrants had issued.
Illegal.
And the IRS has agreed to share that information on illegal immigrants.
Illegals.
The acting head of the IRS, Melanie Krause, has resigned over this agreement. Yeah. Yes. Oh, break my heart.
I'm sure that Melanie cares about protecting the privacy of people who aren't even United States citizens and who are breaking the law by being here. Yes. You go ahead. You virtue signal. Quit your job. Fine. We're better off for it.
By the way, one other thing that Kristi Noem put out a video. I mentioned her getting dressed up like a ICE agent with her submachine gun, and she
pointing it directly at an ICE agent.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The social media, she's standing there with the gun. The barrel of the gun is pointed literally right at the head of the agent next to her, and it's not a good look unless you're trying to intimidate the illegal aliens. I've got this gun and I don't know how to use it.
Well, that's true.
That's not true. She's pretty handy with the gun.
I didn't mean that's true. What I was saying that's true is it is an intimidating image that conveys we're not messing around to illegal aliens.
That's right. And if you're a puppy dog, you want to stay out of the sights of Kristi Noem. We know what she can do with that gun. She's done it before.
That's right.
It is 7:40.
WMAL, making sense of world events, because those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
This one disappoints me, but not really. Travel writer Rick Steves, he does a PBS travel show. He's popular. Do you watch the Rick Steves stuff? Or?
I do, and I've used his travel advice.
Well, he's joining the whole hands-off movement. Ugh. He led a hands-off movement, in fact, and because, well, it's in his back pocket, right? PBS funding, and that pays for his show. Here he is protesting Rick Steves. Listen.
Tell me what democracy looks like.
Oh, sit down.
Tell me what democracy looks like.
Yeah, all right, fine. See, here's the thing. Cancel his show, cancel his podcast, pull the funding. These people are supposed to have goodwill with the American people, right? Yeah. They spoil it. We pay his salary, all right? And here's the thing. The Rick Steves travel thing, that was a great idea back when, PBS was an island and there wasn't any program. Like, there is literally a travel channel right now. There are up-teen YouTube channels.
Don't even get started on the blogs, the number of blogs. I mean, I don't use podcasts. I don't use Rick Steves anymore because, YouTube. When I took a trip to Spain this past fall with my son, I talked to you about this quite a bit. Yeah. I entirely relied on vloggers, I should say, and watched a ton of YouTube videos. And I did not use Rick Steves, that's for sure.
That's right. No, again, like everything on PBS, when it was created in the late 60s, early 70s, they did, in fact, offer programming that you couldn't find elsewhere. Now, for every single show that's on PBS, there are 10 different versions of it available to you, some on paid streaming or cable, some for free on whatever platform you like. And frankly, they're mostly superior. The difference is they're not hosted by some aging liberal boomer hippie who wears a scarf in the middle of the summer. What's with that, Rick Steves?
Larry is referring to a picture of him wearing a sort of scarf around his neck in the middle of summer.
Something going on with him.
Yeah, I mean, I look, anybody affiliated with PBS, I'm not totally surprised. But just keep it to yourself, Rick. Keep it to yourself.
That's right.
Just shut up, right? This is now a reason. Yet, thank you for adding to the reasons PBS shouldn't exist.
It's 7:53.